The outcome left Barack Obama so bitter, he vowed to move back to Kenya. And finally,
Admit it. The shine is wearing off, and the room can feel it. Barack Obama's myth isn't bulletproof anymore, and Greg Gutfeld just walked on stage with a comedy jackhammer and started testing every weld. Yes, this is the moment you clicked for. Obama takes another swing at Fox News and the men who...
Finally, Michelle was so embarrassed, she changed her name back to Mike.
won't line up behind his sermons, and Gutfeld answers by shredding the halo with jokes sharp enough to cut glass. Here's why it matters right now. The conversation around masculinity, media trust, and who gets to define the truth is the battlefield of this election era, and Obama's brand, cool dad, calm professor, playlist politician, used to...
Something that they never did with Obama when he deported 2.4 million illegals.
Under President Obama, deportation soared to more than 400,000 in 2013. Almost half of those people were deported under a process called expedited removal, which allows immigration officials to deport individuals without a hearing.
Those individuals were actually apprehended at the border trying to enter the United States. ICE can remove those people very quickly without having to go through the immigration courts. It artificially increases the total number of ICE deportations in a way that's a little bit misleading. Unfortunately,
on that battlefield. Not tonight. Quick confirmation so you know you're in the right place. Gutfeld roasted Obama for going after Fox and for talking down to voters, especially men, while ducking the policy receipts. Bold public sentiment? People are tired of the condescension, tired of being told they're the problem if they don't...
I had no idea he was a white supremacist. He wants to go back to the days where you have 3 white TV anchors, right?
Men.
So it's really, it is kind of an interesting observation that among the left, racism has exploded as more and more diverse voices are all over the place. It's like you've seen minority majority rule basically in entertainment, and it's now worse than ever. What is wrong with a divided media? We have a divided government. It's the only way things can work is to have... Now, there is division, intense division. That's different than a divided media, right? You know, people getting angry at each other, demonizing people. Generally, the demonization started with the left because they were the ones who made it personal in the 70s, and now the right's catching up. But you need to have a divided media because what else would you have? You would have the 3 white guys, you know...
Clap on cue. Contrarian twist? The problem isn't that Fox is mean to the poor. It's that criticism of policies gets rebranded as hatred of people, so the ideology never takes the hit. Fast proof? Obama's greatest power has always been presentation, not performance. The minute you separate vibe from outcome, the story wobble starts. Roadmap, so you stick with me. We're going to show how the brand eclipsed the results.
Divorce rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men.
Bro, there's no way, bro. Oh, Greg never disappoints.
Like men.
Why the media made that possible, how foreign policy and Obamacare punctured the legend, how the economy and energy debates got lacquered with spin, why his party bled seats while he smiled for Netflix, and how the wise elder act crumbles the second someone cracks a joke that sticks in your head longer than a stump speech. Buckle in. 2 or 3 lines from now you'll hit a turn you didn't see coming, and by the time we loop back, you'll feel the ground shift under the myth you were told never to question. Let's start where the packaging made him untouchable. For a decade, Obama was sold like a limited edition sneaker drop. Sleek, scarce, and impossible to criticize without getting side-eyed by the cool kids. The tan suit trended like an album release. The cadence, the pauses, the I got the smile, everything.
It feels like 1980 in a way. When Carter left, Reagan came in. You always see this, though, when the country goes through too much liberalism. You know, we are a great country. There's no question, but there's only so much leftism that we can take. I think Republicans, they rely on practical solutions, which create a tranquil foundation, which then allows the future folly of progressivism to exploit. So how did New York City get Bill de Blasio? After the incredible unfettered success of Giuliani and Bloomberg. So what you see is this cycle. You know, the country goes through hell. Then Republicans pull them out.
Everything was cinematic. Context: America was exhausted and wanted a steady hand that also looked like a magazine cover, and Obama delivered the poster. Application: that turns policy debates into vibe checks. Argue the results and you're told you don't get it. Framing: expectations said charisma equals competence. Reality kept slipping in with a different scoreboard. That's exactly where Gutfeld swings. He doesn't need charts. He needs one line that shows the trick. If you confuse style with substance long enough, you can.
Wondering, like, why do they not care how bad she is? They don't care because they're not worried. I feel like the machine is at work getting everything in place for a repeat of 2020, and they're placating us and keeping us busy. I go back to that Time magazine article, that chronicled the secret cabal of media, business, and government interests aligning to change voter laws, raise millions to recruit Democrat poll workers, censor information.
Convince yourself a playlist is a plan. Mini cliffhanger. Remember that playlist? We're coming back to it when drones enter the chat. Second beat, still strong, but not the knockout. Media as bodyguard. Context: the press treated Obama like he showed up with stone tablets from Mount Optics, each syllable a revelation. He could pitch a March Madness bracket and earn a headline like he'd solved inflation with a chest pass. Application: if the watchdog becomes a hype team, scrutiny turns into fan service, and the audience starts mistaking applause for accountability. Framing: expectations were that the media would interrogate power. Reality looked like a VIP meet and greet. Gutfeld's edge is he laughs at the protection racket without sounding bitter. He just points out the mismatch. If another president racks up debt, bungles a rollout, or misreads a moment, the press calls it a crisis. If Obama does it, it becomes a teachable moment with excellent lighting. Open loop. Put a pin in excellent lighting. You'll see why that matters when we talk healthcare websites crashing like dial-up in a thunderstorm. Now the strongest hit: foreign policy and the Peace Prize paradox. Context: Obama flew into office buoyed by a Nobel Peace Prize before his parking pass warmed up. Think Employee of the Year on day one. Application: the world didn't cooperate with the brochure. Libya unraveled, Syria descended into hell, and drone strikes multiplied like rabbits on espresso. The Peacemaker brand kept colliding with the footage. Framing: expectations promised no drama Obama, cooling global tempers. Reality gave you push notifications on targeted strikes between late-night slow jams. And Gutfeld doesn't need a briefing book. He just holds up the mirror. When the man who was sold as turning the page kept signing the same author's name on the next war-adjacent chapter, the brand didn't match the byline. Pattern interrupt. Quick breath, because the next pivot from geopolitics to the grocery bill is whiplash America lived through. The domestic crown jewel that became a Rubik's Cube, Obamacare. Context: the pitch was historic, humane, and inevitable. The wonk's triumph that would make healthcare feel like Amazon Prime. Application: the rollout faceplanted. Sites crashed. Premiums pinballed. Insurers moonwalked out of exchanges. For many families, affordable felt like a punchline delivered with a bill attached. Framing: expectations said the technocrats had this. Reality said the DMV built a pizza app and forgot the checkout button. Gutfeld's joke lands because it's too close to people's lived experience to ignore. He doesn't have to exaggerate. He shrugs, smirks, and you remember waiting rooms, phone menus, and the moment, if you like your plan, you can keep it aged like milk on a radiator. Call back to the lighting. The speeches looked great. Steady teleprompter glide, stadium glow, but the website didn't care about cinematography. Economy next, the slow boil frustration. Context: Obama inherited wreckage from 2008. Credit where it's due. The floor didn't collapse. Application: but the bounce felt like a sloth on a treadmill. Growth underwhelmed, wages lagged, and the middle class kept asking when the commercials promised features would show up in the box. Framing: expectations said longest streak equals prosperity you can feel. Reality said streaks sound great to actuaries, less great to renters watching prices outrun paychecks. Gutfeld's method isn't to nitpick decimal points. It's to ask why the vibe was champagne while the pantry still held rice and beans. Pattern interrupt. Ask yourself, if you have to keep telling people it's great, is it great? Hold that thought for energy policy, because the answer gets louder when the lights flicker. Energy, the uncool truth. Context: cheap natural gas, fracking jobs, and a path away from volatile regimes should have been bipartisan adulting. Application: but the cool kids in the environmentalist wing whispered uncool, and the White House tried to split the difference with a grin. Framing: expectations were that the pragmatist-in-chief would pick what works. Reality often looked like a student council president trying to keep every clique happy at once. Gutfeld's riff is simple. If doing the practical thing is uncool, the country pays for your image rehab with higher bills. Mini cliffhanger: when we loop to men are the problem, remember this section. There's a reason that message ricochets in households that do math at the kitchen table. Let's talk identity politics and the sermon problem. Context: lecturing voters might feel righteous on campus. It tanks in living rooms. Shots at toxic masculinity and the idea that disagreeing equals moral failure land like wet towels. Application: treat policy objections as character defects, and you don't persuade, you punish. Framing: expectations said a unifier would hear people. Reality too often scolded them. That's the heartbeat of Gutfeld's bit on men. If you tell millions of guys they're the villain of the plot, don't act shocked when they rewrite the ending at the ballot box. Pattern interrupt. Quick crackle. Notice how laughter travels faster than a white paper? Humor doesn't ask permission, it just gets remembered. Party math: how the brand thrived while the bench bled. Context: over 8 years, Democrats lost well north of 1,000 seats across state houses and Congress. Application: that's not a footnote. That's structural power evaporating. Framing: expectations said the Obama era would cement a generation of dominance. Reality handed out L's like a malfunctioning vending machine. Gutfeld paints the picture as a cartoon. Obama struts off with a Hollywood smile and a production deal while his party wakes up in a house missing half the furniture. The image sticks because it's honest about outcomes. A president can be personally popular while his movement quietly loses the map. Mini cliffhanger: keep that Hollywood visual in your pocket. We're walking back to it when the Netflix glow meets the elder statesman act. Media double standard. Revisited with teeth. Context: when the press treats charisma as competence, the public gets hypnotized. Application: drone strikes? But did you hear the Spotify playlist? Debt? He looks great in navy.